Welcome everybody. Can you hear me / see me okay? If you guys can't see me, that's gonna be a problem. Usually I haven't had a problem with my camera. Usually it's the audio stuff. Oh, says we're good. Okay, no, we don't. YouTube seems to be upset about the bitrate. Or is it? No, okay, we're good. Maybe? I don't know. Ooh, now they have automatic captions? Oh, that's a cool feature. When did they start doing that? That's exciting. Well, hi everyone. Happy Friday. It has been a little bit unintentionally. I thought I was only going to miss 1 week of streaming while I went AFK, and just YouTube has been increasingly over the years more and more of a frustrating problem. Like, it's never something that happens like all at once. Well, okay, there was one time something happened that was like all at once. It was really stressful. But usually with YouTube, it's never like a suddenly things went from amazing to awful. Like, it's just been a very slow, gradual increase, and the annoyance and amount of time needed for me to spend like haranguing YouTube on the back end to be like, please don't age restrict all of my videos. And I just needed to have a break because I was like happening constantly with my videos that I was uploading like for weeks and weeks. I just needed a break. So I was planning to miss one Friday, and then I got really sick. I had COVID, and I feel better today. I feel like I had every possible illness symptom on earth at some point in time when I was sick. Like I had dry eyes, I had a dry mouth, I had a sore throat, I had runny nose, I had a stuffy nose, I had coughing, I had congestion, I was itchy. I don't know, like every possible, I don't want to go into details of every single one, but just like imagine what every single possible illness symptom is for like strep throat, flu, cold, all of it happening at different points in time over the course of a week. It was kind of crazy. So definitely did not feel up to streaming last Friday because that was like it was the second full day of me being sick, or at least after I tested positive. But today I'm feeling pretty much all the way together. I do still have some residual like congestion feelings, so my throat still feels kind of weird. I have to like clear my throat a lot. I get like occasional coughing fits still, and I'm still very lethargic. So if I am not like full energy today, that's probably why. Or if my brain's not all the way there, please be nice. It's because I was very sick for quite a long time, and I'm just on the tail end of getting out of it. So that has been why I haven't streamed. If you guys don't follow me on other social media, which you should, I am sort of still on Twitter. I am on Twitter at evlupine, and then on Instagram, I'm ev.lupine, and you guys can follow me over there if you want to check out my content. I do stories like a couple times a week, and that's mostly how I'm planning to keep in touch with folks outside of YouTube on like public social media stuff, just to keep things simple. And I'm just picturing what it would be like if I had a TikTok account and I was like trying to post TikToks, and like the amount of censorship that would be required for me to make TikToks, I think would make my head explode. So I am not on TikTok, but I am on Twitter. The other one has, oh no, sorry, X. It's x.com now. I forgot. I'm on x.com. That sounds very adult. That sounds like I'm on an adult website, which I'm not. Sorry to disappoint anybody. And I'm on Instagram. So that's that on that. If you guys want to keep up to date in the future. Yes, thank you. I hope that I will make a 100% full recovery with COVID. You just never really know, right? It's always a numbers game. I don't want to like get it too political on this, or like talk about vaccines or like COVID pandemic stuff like in general, just because it's like I feel like it's never really productive. Like if you want to vent, that's fine, but maybe don't do it here. I just get, it's always a little scary because you never know how it's going to end up, but I am hoping for the best possible. All right, so with that being said, thank you all so much for joining us today. I will go ahead now, and I will go over some of the basic things you need to know. Also, Beta is in the room, but she's decided randomly that she likes this side of the room more than this side. And so she hasn't, like, been going over to the other side of the room. So I will probably just turn off the pet camera for right now. And then I'll try to, like, nudge her over to, like, go to where she can be on camera. Because this side has all of my technology plugged into it already. So I don't really have room here to, like, plug in the camera. Oh, wait. Oh, no, she's not moving. I got excited for a second. No, she's just stretching. But yeah, so if you're new here, welcome. We do streams every Friday. Usually, occasionally, I will miss one like a couple times a year, but normally we're here every Friday at 6 o'clock Pacific time. And this is an 18 plus only stream where we talk about your questions. Usually it's kink related, BDSM related, dating advice, polyamorous advice, stuff about my life, going to events, confidence, troubleshooting stuff, a lot of advice stuff, or it can also be about just like whatever you want to know about. And in terms of what not to ask, I have some very general guidelines. Like I don't give mental or physical health advice. So if you're wondering about like, is this bruise normal? Should I go to the doctor after doing the scene? Like I'm not going to be able to help you with that, but I do encourage you to access things that enable you to take care of yourself and your body. And that's not me because I am not a medical professional. And even if I was trying to diagnose or help somebody long distance over the internet via a chat would be crazy inappropriate. So I don't do that. So that's just what to know on that. And then just like, please be kind. Don't spam stuff in the chat. And I answer questions in the order they come in. So if you want to make sure your question is asked, I would ask it early on in the stream. I would give everybody a warning about like 10, 15 minutes before the end usually. And then if I still haven't answered your question, you can go ahead and ask it again. I can't promise I'll get to it, but I will try to like scroll through and like speed answer a couple things at the end if I can. And then finally, I do have an FAQ that is linked down below. I worked very hard on it. If you have more common questions like, where do I buy a flogger? Or what books do you recommend? Or how can I tell my boyfriend I want to try kink? I've answered those a lot before. I usually have videos about kind of the more common questions. So if you want to check those out, please do. Link below. And it's a really great resource for like tons of stuff. And I have links to other resources with even more links in it. So it's a big process. There's a lot of stuff I put together for that. And then just read the rules, have a fun time, and be polite. And that's really all we got to know. So with that being said, I'm going to try and rearrange the dog. Hi, doggo girl. Hi, baby. Hi, come here. Come here. Oh, hi. Come here. Ooh, we're so fluffy. We're so fluffy. Hello. Hi. All right, let's take this off so you don't jingle. You're so fluffy. Who made you so fluffy? Who gave you permission to be so fluffy? Boop. There we go. Here's my fluffy girl. Here's my fluffy girl. So sweet. I really should just make like an ASMR video of just a video of her sleeping because it's the most precious thing on planet Earth. And I know you guys can't really barely see her. Actually, I can lower her. Alright, don't freak out. We'll be fine. There we go. Now you guys can see her big smile. Oh, it's so sweet. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, doggo. You want to go hang out on your bed? Or on this side, generally somewhere? All right, shake it off. There you go. All right, we'll see if she ends up hanging out there. She may decide to not do that, but we will see. In the meantime, you can enjoy her fluffiness while it is at least temporarily on camera. Oh, I did want to address this really quickly for people that are wondering about why I stream at this time or like, I can never watch your streams because they're too late or too early or whatever. I determined this stream time because a while ago now, like years ago, I had my audience vote on like what time they wanted me to stream. And I tried to pick a time that as many people in my audience could attend as possible because I want you all to be able to participate. If you want to be able to participate, it's just impossible to pick a time that like, you know, having an international audience, enough people can attend or like everyone can attend because like I have people that watch me that are in Australia and Japan and New Zealand and the UK and France and who knows where else, and in America obviously too, right, and Canada and Mexico. And no matter what time I pick, it's always a bad time for somewhere else, right? Like it's work hours, it's 2 a.m., it's like Friday morning. Like it doesn't work for everyone. So I try really hard to make sure that I pick a time that as many people as possible can attend. And occasionally we do stream at other times too. So if you can't make this one in the future, you can always play back and, just join me on social media and be notified if I stream at other times that are maybe more convenient to your schedule. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure she should have a YouTube channel. I have definitely been encouraged before to like make social media accounts for her, but I kind of like not having her be on social media too much because I feel like I don't have to have her be like perfect all the time. I can just like enjoy her for herself. Like look at this floofiness. Like I don't know, like we don't like go and do exciting things, you know? So like, I don't know how I make her social media exciting. This is like 90% of our day together. It's this. It's like we go on a walk, we hang out in the yard, and then we do this. Well, maybe not 90%. It's like maybe like 75% of the day. I don't want to make it sound like we're just chained to my desk constantly because that would be weird. But yeah. Okay, let's get into some questions. And by the way, I hope that you all have been doing well. I know for a lot of people, it's the beginning of the school year, end of summer. Things are in a lot of different states of transition right now, and that can be exciting and scary and all of the things. Oh, packing for another Twixie Shores vacation, this time to London. Oh, I loved going to London. I haven't been since before the pandemic, so I don't know what it's like now exactly, but there are so many opportunities. Oh, by the way, can you guys hear, I think if people would have heard it, they would have mentioned it. Can you guys hear the fan that's going? I'm trying really hard to keep the camera cool, but having the lights and everything like this, I think it's just causing like my technology to not be super happy. So if you guys can hear the fan, I'll turn it down a little bit, but it's the fan that helps keep the camera cool because that camera is very bad at keeping itself cool for some reason. But London, lots of great kink stuff there if you have time for it. I don't know if it's like a business thing or a personal kink related thing. So many places to get like fetish gear, latex, club wear if you like wearing cute outfits to go to events in. Lots of more like rave/club atmosphere type parties. Oh, and thank you so much. Oh no! Oh, it's this fucking person again. I gotta leave for 2 weeks and here you are still doing your fucking bullshit. Really? Okay. Okay. Every time. Okay. Okay, so just because I haven't streamed for a while, I am going to say this. Please don't ask me about anything on my neck or my collar. I will just ban you. Unfortunately, we have somebody that likes to come in and ruin the super chats by leaving the minimum possible donation and then spamming me, asking me about my collar. And I don't know what enjoyment they get out of it, but it's shitty to, like, essentially harass a small content creator on their live stream. So, thanks for that. People are just the worst. And, like, I've had to report this person, like, a bajillion times, and they just, keep doing it. So, thanks, YouTube. I actually, if you guys don't mind, I will take a minute and I will try to check something on the back end. And I'll try not to take too long doing this because I don't want to waste anybody's time. But there may be one other thing I can try to, like, prevent this person from harshing my vibe. Because, like, I've been streaming for, like, 10 minutes. Is that really necessary? Okay, let's see here. Okay. Okay. Alright, we're gonna try something. And I regret having to do this, but we'll see if that works. So, great stuff. Yes, and I appreciate the mods for staying on top of it, because it's just, you know, that's part of being on the internet, is people are like that sometimes. Oh, okay. Here, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. You guys see me okay? YouTube, for some reason, seems to think that I am not sending enough stream data. Yes, you did do a mod thing. Thank you. You get some applause. Okay. Let me know if you guys have trouble seeing me for some reason. I am not seeing any problems on my end, but I will keep an eye on it. I haven't streamed for a little bit, so I don't think that there should be a problem. But I'll just keep an eye on my analytics. It would not be a return from a break if there wasn't some kind of vague technical problem that like YouTube's like, the vibes are bad. Please fix the vibes in your back end. Oh, Jesus. Okay, well, thank you all for sticking with me through it. I appreciate it. Okay, everyone says it looks fine, so YouTube's just being silly, I guess. I've been busy for the last few weeks, decided to tune in. Well, I am glad you could tune back in. Short week here in Canada, though. Oh, yeah, it was Labor Day for us here in the U.S. And, I mean, I didn't do anything because I don't, like, have a real job. So, but I'm sure other people hopefully had a short week, which is nice. Yes, there is definitely some new variants going around for COVID. I don't know what exactly it is, but it's totally different from the last time I had COVID. And not pleasant in any case, no matter what. How do you get such pale skin? I've always tried to no avail. Genetics. My family, we did a genealogy test. And we're basically, like, just Irish, Welsh, English, Scottish. That's it. Like, that's all that's in my family tree. I'm just, like, purely Celtic, baby. This is something that could only be produced if you are of Celtic descent, I'm pretty sure. But no, I wear sunscreen, like, pretty much every day. Just, like, a really standard mineral sunscreen, SPF 32, I think. And that just helps. But, like, sunscreen's good for everybody, regardless of your skin tone. It won't, like, change your skin tone. But this is just my natural. Like, I don't do anything crazy to, like, make it lighter or paler, really. this is the color my skin is. I did get tan. Like, you guys can't, like, tell anymore because it's gone away because I've been sick for the last week. But I did actually get tan on my arms. I do actually tan and freckle, which is unusual for somebody that's, like, as pale as I am. But I do, like, completely tan. And, aww. Thank you, Randall. I appreciate you trying to make up for it. Randall says, sorry that the other guy was an a-hole. Hope things are going well for you. I appreciate it. I'm doing great. Like, I'm just happy to not be sick. I'm happy. Like, the most disappointing thing for me is when I was done, like, being AFK and, like, enjoying time being outside, I was, like, so ready to work again. I was like, I have so many ideas. I can't wait to do this. I'm going to get caught up on doing this. And then I immediately got sick, like, literally as soon as I was, like, the next day I got sick. So I didn't like that kind of put a wrench in my plans, but I'm excited to be back and excited that you all are here with me. And yeah, I guess I got a little bit tan being outside. I could tell there was a big difference, which, like, you guys aren't going to believe me. You're going to be like, no way, you weren't tan. But I was gone for a week, so it went away. So I'm sorry you guys don't get to see me being tan. But I did grow up in the Southeast for many years, and there are photos of me that you guys will never see as a small child when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, where I am I'm pretty tan because I was outside a lot as a kid because I loved being outdoors. But it is possible. It does happen. Gasper's family tree. Like, it's like, this is like the kind of thing somebody would say as like a mean comment. Like, I occasionally get comments from people where they, like, you could tell they're trying to insult me. Where they're like, all right, Casper. Sweetie, it's not Halloween anymore. And it's like, I just embrace my natural skin tone and vibe with it. Like, I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. Oh no, don't worry about it. Like, no pressure. Like, don't worry about, like, spending a ton of money sending through a super chat. I will read all of them. I'm just annoyed that there's a person who sends the minimum amount required to be able to highlight a super chat only to annoy me. That's the only thing that bothers me. So it's like, if you're going to be an annoying prick, at least send me $50, right? Come on. But no, can't donate much, but thoughts on puppy play / pet play. I have so many thoughts about this. Oh, by the way, if you guys who don't like normally come here, you don't know how super chats work, normally how they work is you guys ask questions through them and it highlights the question and we like talk about that right away. It's like kind of your way to like speed up to the top of the list of the conversation. So I originally, and it's funny now because I've been on YouTube for so long that a lot of people like don't know this about me anymore, I guess. But to me, it's like an obvious part of my history. The first, I would say 2 years especially that I made YouTube videos, I was very focused on pet play content. Like pet play, puppy stuff specifically is like my thing. I don't want to claim authority on anything because like I don't like, it's the internet, there's a million people online doing stuff everywhere, so like who knows, like I maybe just don't know a website that somebody else was doing this on. But I was, 7 years ago now at this point, I was one of the first like very visible online female puppy players on like Instagram, on FetLife, other social media platforms. I think on like it was mostly Instagram and FetLife at that point. And at the time, like pet play was definitely still very popular, especially on Instagram, but it was mostly kittens. Like it was like 99% kittens. And then I was a puppy basically from the start. And then, there were people who were like wolves and foxes and stuff. And then like gradually over time, other types of pet play outside of kitten play got more and more popular as more resources for that became available. But I love it. It's great. I still love doing puppy play and pet play. It's still like, it's just, I don't know, it's like my original love. It's like how I got into the kink scene is I discovered pet play online and I did research about it and I was like, oh my God, you can do this. Like, I was amazed. I was like, what? You could do that? Like, I had no idea. Because my picture in my head of kink stuff was it was stereotypical, but like where like stereotype is usually all we have to go off of from the start. So like what else would I think it was gonna be like, like I don't really blame myself for having a stereotype in my head about, oh, it's, red rooms and floggers and leather and masks and lingerie. That's what I thought it was. And I thought, oh, you can act like a dog? Oh, that sounds fun. I want to do that. Like, that sounds like me. I want to do that. Because I was always very into imagination play. And, the old videos have me so much. Like, these days, I'm definitely still into it. I would say that for me, and I talked about this in a recent video, I don't know if you've seen it yet or not, Moon Chomp, or not Chomp, Chop, Moon Chop. I don't know why I think it's Moon Chomp. I think just the M's in there, just like my brain inserts more in. But I talked about how, like originally, because this is like how pet play was talked about in the earlier days of the internet, was like, you would like pick a species and then you'd pick a very specific breed and then you'd like act very concretely like that specific breed, and like the types of gear you could wear were like very prescribed and limited, and it was much more regimented than I think it is today, because now it's a little bit more dispersed now that Instagram and other social media platforms have gotten a lot less kink friendly. Like sort of, I don't know if this is really like even a silver lining of it. It's like a tin lining. Like it's a lining, but it's not really that great. Is it sort of like reduce the pressure to like spend a bunch of money on gear to dress up to be a pet. And I sort of went from being very specifically like I'm this type of dog and I'm this way, to now I have a more, what to me feels like a more natural and genuine approach to it, which is sort of like being like a dog girl. Like I always reference this, but it's sort of like being like a VTuber. What is the dog girl one? Why can't I remember her name? I can picture her perfectly. This is the COVID brain happening to me again. I have so much trouble like recalling certain things now, like while I've been sick, and it's very annoying. Somebody's gonna say it in the chat, and Corone. It's Corone. Like Corone, basically. That's me. I'm Corone. Yeah, Corone is my my spirit animal. Well, I shouldn't say that. Like, saying the phrase spirit animal is probably not, like, that's one of the phrases we should probably move away from using, I feel like, but it's so reflexive to say because I've said it my whole life. But, you know, Karane is something I, like, identify with, and, like, that feels very close to the way I want to do puppy play, which is sort of, like, I'm mostly human, and then I have sort of, like, dog characteristics, like, in terms of, like, getting fascinated watching animals outdoors and wanting to bark at stuff and begging for food and taking naps and whining and like other sort of characteristics. Like it's sort of, I don't know, it's like meant to be more of like a cutesy playful thing. And I've never been the kind of pet player that's like really into like fully getting geared up and like being in a big group of other pet players and like being around other pet players. I've done that before many times, but when I really decided to sit down and think to myself, like, what do I get out of pet play? What do I want to be doing versus like what I feel pressure from the community or the expectations I think other people have of me to do? What do I really want to do? Like, I like being with my person. Like, I like being with like my people in a smaller group setting or like with one person one-on-one and then like vibing on that level and not having it necessarily be like a big public thing all the time. But I still love wearing like, there's certain pieces of gear that I like tail harnesses and tails and ears and things like that. But like the whole, like I feel like a lot of it's very masculine and like I don't like that. Like I don't like heavy masculine stuff. I'm a very femme person most of the time. Like I just, many parts of myself have been in question, but my gender and like comfortableness with like the body I've been born into, like that's basically like, no, yeah, this is pretty good. This is basically what I want to have in my life. So yeah, pet play, puppy play, it's great stuff. It's basically about being fun. Like really, it's kind of simplistic to talk about it this way, but it is really about like not having those inhibitions and getting to feel like I can act in a way that's genuine for me and is true to who I am. And I don't have to hold certain parts of myself back because it's not like socially acceptable. And it's like, still wouldn't spring this on somebody that I've like just started dating or like they're not kinky or anything. Like it's not like like you have to be kind of careful because there are, this is okay, maybe this is like one opinion I have about pet players that I'm like, I've met a lot of pet players online where they're sort of like the like teenager to young adult who wants to bark at strangers in the grocery store while wearing trip pants and an anime t-shirt, you know, like the kind of person that would like howl while playing like a competitive sport in PE class, like that energy. And I'm like, it's cringy when you talk about not being able to control yourself and that you should just be able to like growl at strangers at like the grocery store checkout line because they cut in front of you. Like, no, that's not, I don't know. This is definitely still something that is very regulated and, you know, I'm in complete control of when I get to express it, but I enjoy getting to express it when that permission is there in the relationship. Yeah, human pet play, basically. Thoughts on things to say to my DD, so slash caregiver, who's a long distance relationship, like sexual currency. What do I say, like via text? What do I say to get him in the mood without saying the obvious? Okay, so there was a concept that I actually learned about during a stream last night I did on Patreon, where we watched a recent video that Hannah Witten did about something called sexual currency or like sex currency. And she's mentioned it in videos before, but it never really like percolated into my brain as like a particular term. And hearing the phrase, you might initially assume that sex currency is like trading favors for sex, or like, here's a coupon book, exchange for one oral, please. like it would be like that's currency, like money. I think what they mean by, and I don't love the phrase. I honestly really like, my opinion is the author who made that term, they could have done a better job of picking a term that was more directly connected to what they actually meant, because what they mean by it is sex currency is about having non-pressured moments of intimacy and recognition of your sexual relationship without it leading to sex. Like it's like the kind of playful banter, teasing, innuendo, sex jokes, inside jokes that you make with a partner that like you're sexual with, that you wouldn't make with like a casual friend or family member or something. I would say, being a member of the kink community, that I know lots of people that are very sexually flirtatious that will absolutely do things that would fall under the umbrella of sexual currency with friends because it's funny, it's comfortable, and it's like, you know, when you're seeing somebody naked at a dungeon all the time, like, you're gonna make certain jokes and it's gonna be more normal than it would be in maybe more vanilla context. But for like the doing it in a long distance relationship, I think especially if there's like a daddy dom caregiver dynamic happening there, I feel like there might be a tendency for certain things to come off accidentally like bratty teasing, and maybe you don't mean for it to happen that way, but I mean, I would say, like, especially long distance, what comes to mind for me is like, you know, like sending memes or like anime gifs that are kind of like flirty and funny and have like a sexual undertone to them. Or it would be like sharing your thoughts about like how grateful you are about something you got to do together recently or a thing that they told you. Like, I think, again, the main thing is like not having pressure to lead to the act. And I talked about this a lot during the live stream, and I may actually make a standalone video about this because I think it is a really important conversation to have that I'm learning as I research things that are more like connected just to vanilla sexual intimacy in literature as opposed to kink stuff, because there's actually, not surprisingly maybe for a lot of people, there's a lot I think that we can glean from the research on like what makes a healthy sexual relationship for vanilla people, and then like applying that in principle to kink relationships and like how to improve those and like how to resolve a lot of the common sticking points that happen for both. Like, I think in both kink and in vanilla relationships, there can end up being a dynamic where like one person has a higher drive than the other, and then one person feels very pressured to perform certain things. They feel very put in a box. They feel like they have to do certain things to make their partner happy when they don't really want to do that. And then the other partner who has a higher drive feels like unwanted. They feel unloved. They feel rejected. And like, it's just, it's nasty on both sides emotionally for both people. And the idea of sex currency is it erases that pressure of like, okay, I'm only doing this because it's foreplay before we do something else. And by leaving that intentionally off the table, by saying, okay, when I say these things to you, you know, I'm not trying to egg you on into going all the way with me. I'm just trying to have banter back and forth to maintain our sexual connection outside of sex. Because both with kink and with sex, oftentimes it can kind of feel like your life is very segmented. Like, it's sort of like, oh, you're only like physically intimate with me in like the 10 minutes before a scene starts or before we start fucking. And like, that doesn't feel good for most people usually if you haven't had any other physical contact or any kind of connection. And then suddenly when the other person wants something, they act upon you to like be like, all right, you're okay with this, right? You're okay with doing a scene. You're okay with fucking. You're okay with this. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Give me what I want, please. Kink dispenser, sex dispenser, give me my candy bar now. And that's crappy. So I'm kind of like broadly explaining what sex currency is because I'm not doing this very well. Please watch Hannah Witten's video about this. It's very good and it's more concise than what I'm trying to do now here on a live stream. But the idea is basically is you have that sort of like interspersed connection throughout the day, throughout the week, between instances of intercourse or in a kink context scenes where you're reminding the person of like the value of your relationship, that you like them, that you're attracted to them, that you value the connection that you have. And it's not just about like, you know, when the penetration happens or when you get to actually do a full-on scene. And I think long distance wise, you know, almost all the same things apply. Like, again, I said, you know, you could send memes, you can send cute little gifts, you can, I think, this is what I was trying to get to, and I got off on like a huge side thanget to try to explain some more stuff, is I think there's a difference between like initiating dirty talk and like trying to get that to lead to somewhere versus like thanking someone and like remembering fondly an experience that you had together. Like a sort of a, you know, you remember, like, you know, sending them a GIF or, like, a clip of something and being like, haha, this reminds me of that time that we did whatever. And then just having kind of that reminder of, like, hey, remember we do stuff together and it's fun and enjoyable and we both like it. And then, like, having that ability to form a bond around it and, like, establish, like, hey, I'm thinking about you, I care about you. And it's not just, you know, always about the thing. And it could be like complimenting somebody. It could be, just sending them like texts that you're thinking about them. It could be sharing stories with them that you like, or like clips from movies or TV shows that you find erotic. You just have to be very, like, for certain things, especially for long distance, you just have to be clear that it's like, I am not sending this to you to get you to send me a dick pic or like whatever. So just be very clear about the boundaries around that. But yeah, I think one of the things that like Hannah Witten gave as an example, I think she had like a video clip of, I think she was like designing something in a room in her house with her husband, and she made like a joke while they were building something about how it looked like her like jerking him off, like the way she was holding something, and like they just had like a little laugh over it. So I think it's stuff like that. And yeah, just like kind of cultivate that natural flirtation back and forth, and that like reminder to your partner. But also, like, I have to say this as an asexual person, like, don't do this just to make your partner happy. Don't feel pressured to do it, because it can feel like teasing to some people. It can be negative, and there are people that will take any level of engagement at all as being like, oh, you want to fuck me now? And like, some relationships, this will not work out. Like, if a person's just like, they have, there's another term for this that's used in like literature, and I think it's like highly, like, you have a high amount of like sexual, like sexually relevant stimuli, I think is the term. I made a video about this a while ago. Yeah, they have a high amount. Well, if this isn't the exact term, I have a video about it, but it's basically they have like a high percentage of things are like sexually relevant stimuli. Like for me as an ace person, I have very, very low sexually relevant stimuli. So like I can make jokes and tease about things and then like not even think at all that somebody would derive something sexual from them, and then find out later that is what happens. No, not a kink dispenser in like a human furniture, fun, pretend to be a human gumball machine situation. That would be fun though. Good use for a jawbreaker gag for sure. Thanks for figuring out how I was wording my question. What's wrong with being cringe? It's okay to be cringe. Just acknowledge that you're being cringe, I guess. Self-awareness of cringe, I think, is what enables it to be fine. So hopefully that helped answer your question, and I really appreciate it. So I'm glad I got to talk about that more, because that's an interesting topic to me, and it's something that I'm hoping to maybe... I feel like there's sort of camaraderie amongst all the different like sex tubers that are currently still making videos, like Hannah Witten and What's the Safe Word, and all these other people that we kind of bounce off each other's ideas and refer to each other in videos that we make, and I like that because there's not very many of us left. Okay, like I feel like Sexplanations is kind of on her own island in the same way that like Legal Eagle is, but like she's the OG. She's also a fucking professional sexologist, so like of course, like she doesn't need us. She's like, I wrote this. I came up with this idea. I learned this when I was in my PhD program. Like, whatever. She doesn't need to bounce her ideas off of our content to make videos. But I am glad that she's back making videos. Okay, so with that being said, maybe let's get into some more questions. Don't mind that it's nearly 2 a.m. here. When the stream is on, at least it's a weekend. I have to be up for work the next day. True, that is a good point. Thank you for sticking out with me at 2 a.m. But honestly, I kind of like the fact that like for people in Europe, I could be like a late night comfort. Like I can't sleep on a Friday. I feel sad. Let me watch something to feel better. I like that idea. I like that I know what it's like to be bummed out, which is like a very American phrase. And, just want to tune into something and not stress about it. My plan for after the stream is I have some leftover melted vegan butter from making something, and I melted way too much butter. So I'm going to make some chocolate chip cookies with melted butter in them. It's my favorite recipe for them. And if people want to know the recipe, I guess I could link it in the chat, I guess. It's not like a secret or anything. I think it's a really good recipe. It's hard. It's very hard to find good recipes for like vegan brownies and cookies that are good. But usually people have enjoyed them in the past. What is it called? Oh, this is a great question, Desiree. What is it called when you like being degraded, but in a positive way? Like, I want to be rewarded with affirmations, but with derogatory language. Is there an easy way to convey this to partner? Okay, so there's sort of like two ways I'm visualizing or picturing in my head what you're talking about. I think one version of what you're saying is like you want to be degraded, but in a positive way, and reward with affirmations, but with a derogatory language. I'm sort of picturing like when somebody tells you that you're like a good little slut and they're like so proud of you for like how good you are being a little slut. Is that what you mean? Or it could also be like you like being degraded, but you feel positive about it, even if it is like directly mean. Or you could mean that you want to be degraded and it's maybe in like a babying way or like a patronizing way where it's like, oh, you're such a sweet little baby. You're so stupid. You can't do anything on your own because you're a baby, but I still love you. Like, which kind of vibe amongst all of those, if any, resonates with you the most? I think it will probably be the first one where it's like, I'm a slut, but it's a good thing. Because I feel like that's actually like a fairly common thing. Depending on how you see it, I think you could slot it into a couple of different categories. I actually think that a lot of people that enjoy degrading language, especially like in the bedroom in like a bedroom kink context, I would say that most people like it in an affirming, positive way. Most people like to kind of play in their heads with the idea of being, I'm just going to keep saying the word slut because that's just the word I've stuck with, and like we'll just go with it. Like they like being called words like that, but it is only ever a positive thing for them. Like it doesn't affect them negatively emotionally. They just directly enjoy it and find it to be a positive. Like, yeah, I am a slut. Look at me doing all this crazy sex stuff. I am a awoken, liberated person that gets to do what they want with their body. Heck yeah. Like it's just directly positive for them. So I actually don't think that's that uncommon. I think some people will probably most likely still call that being degraded. I would also say this falls under the umbrella of praise kink if the idea is like that's the whole scene by itself, or that's like the main motivation for being called that is how it makes you feel. Also, thank you for the follow. If you guys don't know, I do stream over on Twitch. You can find a link to that down below, I think. I'm Evie Lupine over on Twitch like everywhere else, and we are currently streaming Diablo 4, and it's a fun time, mostly, except for when I die and the game lags out. But mostly it's a fun time. Mostly it's a good vibe. But yeah, I think it would probably fall under the umbrella of praise kink most of the time because, like, there's sort of the praise kink where it's just directly, like, you know, being showered overly so with being called a good girl or a good boy and, you know, just being lavished with that. But there are also people who feel praised by being called words that are traditionally seen as being degraded. I think you could also call it like, you could call it like positive. I like positive degradation, or I like affirming degradation, or I like praise kink, or I have degradation praise kink, or I have what's the other? It's also like affirmation play, which is something that I have an interview. I haven't edited yet because I haven't had time to get through that stuff yet. But I have an interview where I talk with somebody about affirmations and affirmation play, and this is, I think, similar to all of this as well. I would say the line between like praise kink and affirmation play is, I think affirmation has to do more with like innate qualities in yourself, or even things about yourself that you don't like, versus just being like called certain things, like being called a good boy or a good girl. I feel like praise kink is much more label focused, whereas affirmation play is about affirming aspects of who you are and your personality, if that makes sense. This reminds me of the Green and Blue Foxes comic where one says that they're going to torture the other thinks it's kinky, but it's all compliments. That's very cute. Vegan margarine is gross and vegan butter is expensive. I just use oil. I mean, like, I got some stuff on sale because it was on clearance. I get that it's expensive. I genuinely think it turns out better than just using plain coconut oil. But to each their own, honestly. I feel like I taste coconut in anything if I use coconut oil, so I don't, like, tend to use it a lot for stuff unless the recipe calls for it and I want it to taste like coconut. But I think I'm just burnt out because, like, for a while, all the vegan ice creams were all coconut-based, and, like, everything ends up tasting slightly of coconut. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes you're like, I really don't want actually to have... I just wanted to have strawberry. I didn't want to have strawberry coconut ice cream. But, you know, I guess beggars can't be choosers, I suppose. Ooh, I use it to make another good cookie recipe called... What even? Okay, the text is too small for me to be able to read that accurately. I'm gonna... Hellengrotter? Oh, raspberry cave cookies. Okay. Very tasty. That sounds... I want to know where they're called raspberry cave cookies, because I have a lot of frozen raspberries. If it's like a cookie with jam in it, if it's like a shortbread with jam, I love that. Those are really, really good. I literally love the taste of olive oil. Listen, if I go to an Italian restaurant, my favorite thing... And sometimes if I'm with friends and they're going to an Italian place, I will not order anything else. I will literally just have bread, olive oil, and balsamic vinegar. If that's not girl dinner, I don't know what is. Because I don't like pasta. I feel like that's like my most cancelable food opinion. Is I don't like pasta that much. Like, I like having homemade macaroni and cheese because I'm secretly 12 years old on the inside. But other pasta is just kind of... I feel like if I go to a pasta restaurant and it's like $20, I feel like I could have made this at home. And I've been to like fancy Italian places, okay? I'm like nervous saying this because I'm like, oh no, people are gonna cancel me. So this is like the worst thing I've said. This is like worse than me like lukewarm defending the existence of 50 Shades of Grey is a thing. Oh god. Oh, they're like jam thumper cookies. Oh, those sound very good. Chocolate almond milk ice cream is good. Better be garlic bread. I can't normally eat garlic bread at Italian places though, because it's full of butter. Add in some wine and that's girl dinner. I mean, it's an Italian restaurant. There's gonna be drinking. Does anyone go to an Italian restaurant and then stay completely sober? I mean, unless you are sober, in which case, respect that. But I feel like isn't that like half the reason people choose to go to Italian restaurants is they want to get like completely wasted on red wine? Isn't that the whole bit? Or am I missing something? If olive oil... No, you can't say that. You can't say that. That's illegal. That's... Somebody committed a crime in the chat. You can't... If olive oil tastes good, why did Papa eat spinach? I can't read it. You guys are gonna kill me. It's not fair. If olive oil tastes good, why did Papa eat spinach? No. Because olive oil was in short supply? I guess. Focaccia, balsamic, and oil is just perfect. Holy Trinity. Yeah. Who needs communion wafers and holy water, right? When you've got focaccia, balsamic, and olive oil. That's the OG. That's the OG body and blood, you know, right there. That is, maybe it's not the OG. Oh, off to Kink Fest tomorrow. First time at a convention. Oh, there's another Kink Fest. Isn't there one in Australia? I want to say it's in Australia. That's exciting though. Hope it goes well. Oh, wait. No, I am not, sorry. I'm committing a sin. I am not at the top of the chat where I was originally. So give me 1 second. I'm trying to go through all of the questiones in order. And hopefully I will not miss any, or not miss any important ones. Okay, so we just did the degradation thing. Do you have any advice about going to private parties safely as a solo person? Sorry, I'm still thinking about the Popeye joke. And I don't know why I think it's so funny. Okay, that was good. That was a good one. I think it was just very unexpected, honestly. Going to private parties safely as a solo person. Okay, so how I would do this and how I've done this in the past is before I go to a private party safely, I make sure I know the host. I don't go to a private party if I'm being invited by, like, especially a kink party. Like a regular house party, I'll go if somebody's invited me and it's like a friend of a friend. But if it's like a kink party where like sex and kink stuff's gonna be happening like pretty openly, and maybe drinking and other things are also gonna be going on too, I only go if I directly know the host. And I don't go if I'm being invited by like somebody else. I go if I know the host, if I talk to them a couple times, if I've seen them in public. I basically would myself, I would not feel comfortable going to a private party if I did not directly in person know whoever was hosting it. I ideally would like make sure to have communication with them ahead of time and with other people that have gone to the party before about like, what is it like? What should I expect? What should I bring? What should I wear? What do people normally do? How late do they go? Do people use drugs and alcohol? If they do, what do they use? Like, all that stuff. Make sure you have a way to, like, get there and get home yourself. I always have basically, like, a little, like, emergency kit I bring with me when I go places solo, and I always make sure I have, like, money on a bus card, I have money for an Uber, I have a phone charger, like I have a portable phone charger, I have like basically everything I need to be able, like if something's like real fucking bad and like my car is blocked in by somebody in a driveway or whatever, like I can get out if I need to like leave immediately. And then like make sure if you have somebody that, you know, actually, you know what? Even if you don't have anybody in your life that like knows you're kinky or could go with you or anything, still tell somebody that you're going to a party. You don't have to tell the person that you're going to a kink party. You could just say, you know, let's say you have like a sibling or a friend who doesn't know you're kinky or isn't kinky themselves or, you know, whatever it is. You can tell them like, oh, hey, just like want to let you know, like I'm going to a party tonight. And I'll try to text you by like midnight, and like if I don't, can you check in on me? Like have some kind of what's called a safe call in place where you have a plan to call somebody, have them call you, just generally check in, or even just like a text message real quick, like that can be good too. It's not ideal obviously because like somebody could take your phone and unlock it and whatever, but like that'd be a real extreme scenario. But generally like let people know where you're going, how long you plan to be gone for, when you plan to be back by, and yeah, I would definitely not engage in any drinking, substance use as somebody who's brand new to an environment around people they don't know. I just don't feel like that really mixes very well. Like drinking socially if other people are drinking, if you're like with somebody else, I think is probably okay. But like as a solo person, I wouldn't do it. But yeah, just like make sure you feel totally comfortable. If you get any like bad vibes, if you just don't feel like you click with the people, if you feel like people are dodgy about answering your questions about like how many people are supposed to go here, what are the parties like, what do people wear, just like don't go. But yeah, just like make sure you feel really secure going before you go. I think that's really key. Is it can feel tempting to be like, I gotta take advantage of this offer like right now because I'm not gonna get another opportunity. There will be more parties. If you've only known somebody for like a week and they're inviting you for a house party next week, it's okay to be like, oh, I'm busy, I can't go, that's so sad. When are you planning to host another one? And then like plan to go to the party they host next time once you do feel more comfortable. And like if somebody has a problem with that, like they're like, no, you have to go to this party, or like, why are you being a flake? Why won't you go? Like, yeah, that's a red flag. Yes, everyone loves the Popeye joke. I am glad that everyone finds joy in it, as I do. I think we'd all like a Bandit video for fun. I mean, you guys basically get a 2-hour Bandit video that's like just a smaller Bandit video in the corner every week. So, you know, you get at least something there. But this is her, basically, after we've gone through all of our daily activities. This is us just hanging out. Question. How do you feel the best way to tell your partner you want to do pet play stuff? So this is something I am like kind of recently myself having to revisit because I've been meeting a lot of people that are like, they're kink curious, but they're not in the scene here because many reasons. Usually they've had like bad initial experiences going to events that they felt like rejected or looked down on or condescended to, and like the scene here can be very catty and full of drama, and so it's not surprising for me to hear that at all. But they haven't gotten an opportunity to really explore a lot of kink stuff. But if I was with a new partner and we were in the process of like forming a relationship, and it was like we know each other for maybe like a couple weeks, couple months, and then like the issue of adding kink into the relationship, like because I'm somebody who's like very out as being kinky, like everyone that I even just go on a date with like pretty much already knows that I'm kinky, and if they don't, it's because they haven't read my profile all the way, or like skipped like the first couple lines. So like everyone that I go out with basically already knows I'm kinky. They maybe don't understand or know about the exact kinks that I'm into, but it's already kind of open. So like I would make sure maybe initially, if you're in that position of like I want to tell somebody that I'm into pet play, you know, I think having a baseline understanding of like interest in kink is probably good. But I would probably say if I wanted to introduce pet play to a partner who didn't otherwise know about it, I have sort of a baseline technique that I like to think of, which is I always try to introduce things as like a positive to the relationship, because it is, right? It's something you enjoy, it's fun, it's not really that risky. It might be kind of awkward, but like that's really the worst, right? It's going to be a little bit awkward. But introduce it as a positive to the relationship. Introduce it as something that you're being vulnerable about, like you're trusting them with something that's really important to you, because you are. And I would say something like, I want to be careful to phrase this in a way that doesn't sound like too like soap opera-y, because I think that's one big pitfall is like if you announce it like a soap opera like disaster happening, that's probably not going to be received particularly well. But I would just bring it up casually, like if you already have the door open for talking about like sex things you want to do, where you want to explore stuff, like it makes it a lot easier to have conversations like this, as opposed to like if you never talk about stuff like that, it becomes more difficult. But I would probably say something like, you know, so-and-so, I've really enjoyed like getting to know you, and I love what we've been exploring so far. One thing that I'm really curious about that I'd be wanting to know if you're into or if you know anything about is pet play, and I think that it's really fun and enjoyable, and I'm just curious, like what do you think about it? What do you know about it? And I mean, like I probably wouldn't say it exactly like that in the conversation, but like that vibe of it, right? Like kind of testing the waters. Do they know about it? What are their initial thoughts? And bringing it up casually, I think is really the key, no matter how you end up doing it. Now, if you have a longer term partnership where you were vanilla and you're trying to open things up to kink rather than start a relationship in kink, or like add that in very quickly to a relationship and have it be a known factor in it, I think it gets a little bit more tricky. But I think really you broadly take the same approach, which is it's a positive thing, it's good for the relationship, and I wouldn't introduce it as like a I need to spice things up in the relationship thing, but more just like, hey, there's been like this interesting thing I've been researching I think could be fun for our relationship, and it's called pet play, and I think it could be really fun and relaxing and interesting. Like, would you be curious to hear more about it? And then just like have lots of room in there for questions, have lots of ability for them to be like, I don't know what that is, or that sounds weird, and you know, don't just like rant and ramble about how awesome and amazing it is and how you need to do it because it's the most important thing in your entire life. Like, don't suffocate the conversation with your own need. Leave room to talk about that, but also leave room to talk about like your partner as the recipient. Like, they're much more likely to like have questions and not be sure and wonder what it might mean for your relationship. I think a lot of people like assume introducing a kink is gonna like fundamentally alter their entire relationship forever, and it's like a really, really big thing when it totally doesn't have to be. But yeah, casual, informative, positive, not guilty, not ashamed, not like you've been hiding something, not like it's something you need to be, you need to repent over, be apologetic about. Be brave, be firm, be direct, don't sugarcoat it, don't like drop breadcrumbs everywhere. Be very direct. I think that trying to drop hints does not work out very well. And like you guys could watch something, like you guys could watch like Beastars is like a really good anime to watch. I'm thinking of I want to say something else. Oh, he's even actually in Love and Leashes. There's a whole pet play scene in there. It's kind of funny. Like, there are ways to kind of introduce media about it where, like, maybe you watch a show together or a movie together that kind of has, like, themes of pet play in it. And then, like, maybe a little bit later on afterwards, you ask them and you go, like, hey, you know, so we watched that movie the other night and I was thinking about that one scene where they did this. Like, I think that might be kind of fun to try. What do you think about that? And just have it be a very mutual process. I think, where people run into issues communicating with their partner about kink, especially somebody who isn't kinky, is they just like, because they've been holding it in for so long and they just are like, I gotta get it out there. They just like railroad through their partner, like ranting for 2 hours about like how important this kink is to them and like how it, you know, they're a completely different person from what you thought and it's like a complete meltdown. And I don't think that usually ends up being very positive, unfortunately. She definitely has a very wholesome doggo smile. I've been trying to hook up with guys, and I'm very thankful for dating apps, but also a crutch for me. I wish I was more out about I wish I was more out and about where I just ran into cute guys like in the olden times. Yeah, you guys remember meeting people in the wild? I mean, I don't. I think that stopped when I was in college, basically, because I have like way too many niche interests to be like, I'm gonna risk it meeting a guy at a bar or in a grocery store. Like, no, sorry, couldn't be me. That sounds very risky. My ace wife has been getting tons of non-sexual affection, BDSM included, and they feel like they don't need sex to get their needs met. Just an update. That is fantastic. I am so glad to hear that. I asked you how to give them more affection ages ago without sex, and you gave great advice. That is so great. I am so happy, Amber. Yay! Love it. We love implementing positive things in a relationship. I mean, you did the hard work. You implemented it. I just gave you ideas. That's easy. Ideas are the easy part. Execution and communication are the hard parts. Yeah, I know. I don't know why it still shows up. Because it's a YouTube super chat. So you'd think that YouTube would take it down and not like send it all the way through. But alas, YouTube is bad. Best pickup lines for Daddy Doms via text, DDLG based help. How do I be cute? The desire to be cute. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to open my window and then I will answer that. Hi, I opened the window. I know motorcycles outside, huh? Do we approve of the motorcycles? Are they allowed to be here? Bandita says, I would like to sleep. Give me sleep. What a sweet girl. So I'm very bad at pickup lines. That is not my forte. I am dense as a brick, as a brick. I'm dense as a brick. And I definitely struggle with, why? Please focus on my face. There we go. I definitely struggle with knowing how to do that and be flirtatious intentionally via text. I definitely feel like I've already said this kind of in relation to the other question that you asked, but I really feel like having an arsenal of like cute gifts at your disposal is very helpful for like accurately communicating how you feel when you're texting. I think that's a really, really good thing to have in your back pocket for like accentuating the cuteness. I think use of emojis and other things can also be very cute. It depends on like your caregiver, your daddy dom, and like what they enjoy about you. Like they could totally be into like more of the baby talk stuff. They could just want to know about your day. They could want something that's like more adult in nature, maybe. I don't know. It just depends on the daddy dom. But yeah, I would think of something, and it's hard because this isn't me, so I have to kind of like put myself in another kinkster's shoes of like, what would I say if that was me? I would say something like, Daddy, I've been thinking about you all day long and I miss you so much. And then like 50 emojis after that and then like a gif. That would be what I would do probably. Just like thinking about them, how much you care about them. And if by pickup line you're meaning something that's more like sexually flirtatious and not just like I miss you and I want to be cute. Like if you mean cute and alluring at the same time, maybe. I'm not like, how would you do that? Like I can picture it happening in my head, but I'm like, is this cringe or is it a good idea? Is it cringe or is it a good idea? The eternal question. No worries. The mods caught it. You're not at fault for that at all. I'm kind of curious if anyone else has techniques for doing this. The floof did awaken, that is true. Temporarily, and now she's sleeping once again, like the Leviathan, or a sleeping giant under the waves. That is her. I'm trying to think. I just like, yeah, hopefully I'll just maybe leave it at that. And if people have other ideas for like flirtation and pickup lines, I will definitely read them. I just like, I'm not, that's like my weakness in my skill set is that for sure. Cause I'm very direct. Like if I want to do something with somebody, I'll tell them. Like I don't need to like be wink wink nudge nudge about it. I'll just tell you. A new Kinkster in my local community approached me to be a mentor to them in their submissive journey. Are there any specific resources you'd recommend? For them or for you for being a mentor? So I'm going to assume you mean for you for being a mentor, kind of initially. There's a lot out there about like finding mentors and like protectors, because there was a while online, especially when that was like a really big thing, where everyone like is like, so and so's not my dom, they're my protector, and that's different. And then like really it was just a DS relationship that people were blind, pulling the wool over their own eyes about not being a DS relationship. And yeah, I think we're more aware now. I think we're more keen to that. But I don't have any resources I can really recommend for like how to be a good mentor. But if you are looking for helping a newer submissive in their journey, let's see, my top books I would probably recommend for a new submissive would be Playing Well with Others by Lee Harrington and Milena Williams-Haas. Conquer Me by Casey Cunningham. And I probably recommend something by Raven Caldera and Joshua Tenpenny, but I'm not sure which specific one I recommend because they have so many books. I also think the new Bottoming book is like an old standby classic. I think there's always something that people can learn from that book, so I think that's another good one to recommend. But if they like books, I'd have them read books. If they like podcasts, there's so many podcasts out there that talk about kink. There's American Sex, there's Loving BDSM, there's Off the Cuffs, tons of options for kinky podcasts if they like that. Watching YouTube videos like mine is another good idea. There's just so many resources online. In fact, like I think the issue is like knowing what resources are good to recommend to somebody. There are also lots of workbooks you can buy. If they're more like a workbook, like self-guided person, I think Loving BDSM has a workbook. I want to say somebody else has a workbook. Who is it that has a workbook? I know Loving BDSM does. I think Morgan Thorne has a workbook too. I don't remember if that's specifically a submissive workbook or what that is, but there are other things you can download that are more like, here's like a guided, like 30 days of DS or whatever it is guide where like you have a journal prompt you answer every day about like reflecting on your submission. I think especially for a newer person who's like learning newer concepts, having some kind of like quick daily thing they can do every day of like, research this term, write me a paragraph about what you learned about it and what you like and how you think it fits into your journey. And then just like, or, reflect on your motivations for this, or picture your perfect DS relationship. What does it look like? Or what stereotypes do you have about kink? Like there's like a million questions you could ask like that, but like maybe setting up some kind of like I mean, it doesn't even have to be every day either. Like, that would be a little bit much for a lot of people that are, like, busy and working. It could even be, like, a weekly prompt. If you want to go, like, broader and more detailed, if you want to have a quick way to basically give them homework to do to help them in their submissive journey have those initial reflections, and having it be self-guided as opposed to, like, you're going to learn from this dom what it means to be a submissive, and they're going to mold you into whatever kind of sub you should be. Like, excuse me while I roll my eyes into the back of my freaking head. I think teaching submissives is generally the best approach. I think a dominant can teach a submissive. If they're in a class environment, they can generally teach them about the concept of submission, but in a personal way, I think really dominants have a tendency to more teach people, like, how to be submissive for them specifically, as opposed to, like, organically helping the person discover their own submission, because unfortunately to a lot of dominants, especially older dominants, you know, you're supposed to become whatever kind of submissive your dominant partner wants, and not really have your own independent thoughts, needs, desires, whatever. Yes, I love playing well with others. It's a really, really good beginner book for a lot of people. Oh, yes, Submissive Guide. Thank you. Submissive Guide has a guided prompt journal. I want to say that there's one other one, and I want to say there's Subdom Living, I want to say maybe has one too. Yeah, they have like a Dom sub training thing, and they do have some other workshops and like guidebooks. Not really anything specifically for a beginner submissive, but there's just, the point is that there's tons of options. And in my FAQ down below, I do have a couple things linked where it's all about like different books, different movies, podcasts I recommend, online resources, YouTube channels, like you name it, I have it listed as an online resource. Okay, I always have to bring this up because I've decided I'm just not going to be quiet about it. I know a lot of people like LX or LEX or whatever her name is, and I still have not learned how it's pronounced. And I'm not trying to be facetious. I just genuinely haven't watched her videos up to now how she pronounces her username. She has blocked me and basically every other content creator that I know on YouTube that makes kink content. I don't know why she's done this. She just like acts like she's her own island over on YouTube and is not in any way interested in engaging with or talking to other content creators. I think she has a couple of beliefs about, for example, things like brats or like male submissives, and the role of porn in relationships, and like generally has some pretty big misconceptions and like medically wrong misunderstandings about things in human sexuality that make me not really trust the rest of her content. And also basically all of it is a sales funnel to get you to sign up for some free ebook or a course where you end up being part of her mailing list, and like you're ultimately really the product. I don't know why she's decided to do that, where she just like blocks people that like also do online content about kink education. Like I've never had anyone else do that, but for some reason she's just decided she doesn't want to engage with any of us. LX, okay, yeah. Thank you. I don't know. I just kind of like that by itself makes me be suspicious of her content. Just because, like, why would you do that? Like, what? Like, it isn't like for like gossiping about you on Twitter or something. Like, I think I've reacted to a couple of her videos on Patreon like years ago when she first started making content. And, like, originally I liked a couple of them, but they kind of gave me the ick at the same time. Which is weird because I literally don't have that problem with like basically any other content creator, like Morgan Thorne, What's a Safe Word, Hannah Witten, like anyone else who makes content on YouTube, either about sex or about kink stuff. No one else is like, it's like a level of cattiness there that's a little bit suspicious. I don't know. It just blows my mind. I don't know why that's like, to me, it's like, I keep thinking about it, and I'm like, that is just genuinely, like, it's a very strange way of engaging in things, I think. But, like, hey, I will say this, like, if you like her content, if it resonates with you, like, I'm not telling you not to watch her, I'm not saying you should unsubscribe or whatever, because if you subscribe to her, you're my enemy or whatever. Like, I always want people to get kink education from multiple resources. If her way of talking about kink resonates with you, more power to you. I just feel like I should disclose to people what I know about her behavior that some people might find distasteful, or maybe draw some questions about the rest of her content. There's been enough that I'm like, has kind of maybe not super great opinions about things like alpha males and beta males and porn and like other sex related stuff and brats especially, that I don't think is like very positive or like informed by participation in the community. Yeah. So she knows the one true kink Patsy is what you're saying? I mean, that's certainly like kind of the impression I've been left with a lot of her content, is it's sort of like, here's my ideas for what you should be doing, and it's not always, again, I haven't watched a lot of her content, especially recently, but like that was sort of the vibe I got initially, was sort of like, this is not really leaving a lot of room open for like I don't know. I shouldn't talk about this too much. I just kind of get the impression that she has a more limited view of like what is contained within the kink community than maybe I or like Pop Amp or like Morgan Thorne talk about or are aware of, which is unfortunate because there's so much different stuff going on there. She definitely seems like a bit of a toxic person and thinks that she's better than others. I mean, I don't know about that. I think when you're on YouTube, you can kind of put off a persona when you make videos, like unintentional. Like you kind of just end up making like a creator voice or like a creator personality that you put on when the recording button starts, like not meaning to, not intentionally. And I think when you're trying to deliver stuff confidently and authoritatively, it can potentially come off as like bitchy or like I'm better than somebody else or I know what I'm doing, because you're trying to sound like you know what you're talking about. Because if you're just like, yeah, I think maybe it could be like this, like nobody's gonna watch your video and listen to what you have to say if you're like super passive in your language or the way that you're talking about what you're saying. So I kind of like, I don't want to necessarily go that far, but I think, you know, people have different impressions of creators, and there's probably a reason why, you know, you're left with that impression, and I can't say why that is. Her last live stream was about kinky church. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean like doing religious roleplay? Like, I don't know. Anyways, we don't have to talk about this. I'm just like, maybe I should look into it at some point just in my own free time. But interesting, I will say that. I would broadly advise against listening to her, but there are exceptions, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, like, if somebody gives you a bad vibe, that's fair. Like, if somebody gets a bad vibe for me, I'm not going to be like, you should keep watching my channel anyways. Like, no. If you don't like me, if you don't like any content creator, any genre, even outside of kink, right? Like, if a content creator gives you bad vibes, like, you don't have to watch them. You don't have to listen to them just because they're popular or because you like the kind of content they make. Like, just, you know, you don't have to engage in anything you don't like. Anyways, with that being said, I don't want to make it seem like I'm gossiping about anybody, but I just like, I get a lot of people that are like, you should collab with this person, you should interview them, and I'm like, they have literally had me blocked on like every platform that I'm aware of for years, and I don't know why. So even if I did want to reach out to them, I literally can't, which is unfortunate. Like, I literally know people that are like dominatrixes, and like everyone I know who's like a professional dominatrix and a sex worker is like more friendly and open to collaboration, which is nuts. I have reported it to Google, FYI, multiple times. It looks like the stream is healthy now, so I'm keeping an eye on the keyframes, but it looks like it's been healthy for the last wee little bit. I'm so scared of getting COVID. Made it 3.5 years without it, but wondering how much longer I can keep it up. I mean, good luck to you if you're trying to stay away from COVID. I think definitely be careful when you're flying. I think that's probably the highest risk thing I imagine at this point is like the travel aspect of it. Hi, Evie and everyone. It's been a while since I've been able to tune in. I'm so glad to be here. Well, I am glad you can make it. Thank you. I'm Irish and German. I won't put clear. Yeah, no, my skin tone is like just clear. I'm like, I'm not fair. I'm not very fair. I am transparent. I still send your alignment of will video to people whenever I have a conversation about strengthening dynamics. It's been amazing for mine and a few others, and it's made its way too. That is so great. I'm very, very glad that you enjoyed that video. The alignment of will video was very interesting because I feel like I really struggled to find the proper resources to really flesh out that idea. But I'm glad it's resonated with you and other people that have also watched it. I did have a very interesting reaction from somebody that I quoted in that video. Like, I quoted an article that was quoting them, and they posted about it on FetLife, like they didn't think that I would see it, and they were like, this YouTuber made a video talking about me, and I was like, I didn't make a video talking about you. I quoted an article that interviewed you, and then I gave the URL and I linked it or whatever it is that I did. Like, I gave credit, and like I didn't take you out of context. I read like basically the whole quote or the whole quote. I don't remember which one of the two. Like, I don't try to clip people to like get to misunderstandings. And they were basically upset that I like didn't reach out to them personally to like get more information about what they said. And I'm like, I don't like, that's not standard protocol for like quoting from a published article on the internet. Like, I wouldn't have deigned to think that I could have gotten a quote in time to like make the video, but you know, we cleared it up in DMs and they were fine about it. I was like, hey, I just want to make sure you know I'm not trying to misquote you. Like, if you want me to like link to something, or like I can pin a quote with like further commentary from you. Like, I didn't realize that you had the resources to look for. I didn't find it. Blah blah blah. But you know, people get weird about stuff. Would you ever do an interview with somebody about ABDL? I would, if I could find somebody about ABDL to interview. Unfortunately, the people I just don't know. I just haven't found the right person yet. I just haven't found the right person yet to interview. Corona is the dog girl one. I'm a VTuber expert. Yes, Corona. I'm sure there's other dog girls, but like Corona is like the chief El Presidente dog girl, you know? The word you're looking for, Evie, is cringe. Barking at strangers in a vanilla grocery store. Okay. Yes, that is cringe. I just feel like it's not that it's like it is cringe. It's more like the label for like that kind of person who does that. Like, it's not just that they're cringy. They're cringy in a very specific way. Like, you know, like a middle schooler who thinks they're a werewolf. Like, it's that kind of energy where it's like, I can't be expected to control myself because the urge is too strong. And like when somebody pisses me off in public, I'm just gonna growl at them because my inner animal needs to be let out. And it's like, all right, back up, Frederick. Like, there's this thing called therapy we can do, and we can learn some self-control skills. It's possible. It is a thing. Oh, thank you, Jay. I appreciate the super chat. Oh, you're starting a YouTube channel about it, which you recommended I should do a few weeks ago. Well, I hope that goes well for you, and congratulations for being brave and making YouTube videos. I know, especially with like ABDL and DDLG content, there is, for some reason, so much flux with content creators who make stuff about ABDL and DDLG, and like we could always use more voices talking about niche and misunderstood kinks online. And good luck. Yeah, don't want to feel used as a kink dispenser. I don't have any raisins. Sadly, no raisins. But I will take that under advisement. I've not made oatmeal raisin cookies in a very long time. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Twixie. I appreciate it. So guy with a thumbs up. Look, the YouTube stickers are just wild. They're so funny to me. Okay, I am looking for more questions. I think we're talking about pasta. Where am I in the chat? I'm like completely lost right now. I have lost my, oh no, wait. Okay. I found my way back to where I was. I'm looking for questions. Garlic bread for the win. Talk about olive oil and ice cream. Pasta is just a dip for garlic bread. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't like pasta? Get her out of here. I mean, I don't know. I just like, it's not that I don't ever like it. I just like, if there's other food to eat, I will probably choose it over pasta. Like, I don't hate it. I'm not like a pasta hater. I'm just not a pasta lover, which feels like committing a war crime. Interesting. Okay. We are both Switch. Recently, we visited a dungeon. We intended to split the time as to who topped when it came to reversing roles. It felt very weird. Does this mean we shouldn't switch within the section? I wouldn't say it doesn't mean you should just never ever switch within the session. I think that transition can be awkward. I think if you're both switches, what I see most people do if you're in like a 2-switch relationship is either they have it split up where, especially if you go to like dungeons regularly, it's easier to do this because you both know that you're ultimately going to get both your needs met. Usually people will split it up where either like one night at the dungeon is like I'm topping the whole time or bottoming the whole time. We don't switch between both because it can be very difficult to like switch energy, especially with the same person over the course of the evening. So usually people either have it lined up where they're like the whole evening is they're staying one thing or the other, and then the next time they go to the dungeon, they switch it around and they do the opposite as what they were doing the last time they were at the dungeon. And I've also seen people do it where they will do one scene where they top and one scene where they bottom. They don't try to switch during the same scene. They'll go early. They're gonna start playing early because they have a plan already. You know, maybe do some socializing, but you're gonna want to maximize your time, especially if you want to be home before 4 a.m. So like they'll have. This is the problem with having the door open and the window open is it's very loud outside for some reason. But they will have it set up to where like, okay, I'm going to start by bottoming. We're going to have a scene, you know, the whole scene, including aftercare is like maybe 2 hours, have like a half an hour to like change outfits, vibe, do whatever, and socialize with people. And then we do another scene where I go from bottoming to topping for that scene. So like having a full scene, complete scene, topping or bottoming, having a little break in the interim, you know, changing outfits, getting a snack, talking to people, having some kind of decompression period, and then moving into a second scene where you're playing the opposite role as what you did the first time, if that's how you want to do it. I do think that if you are trying to switch during the scene, energy-wise, it is very difficult. I think the only way that feels like kind of natural is when you have a scene where you have some kind of built-in role reversal where you are planning to like set things up to be able to switch partway through the scene, right? Like you have some kind of, I don't know what the term for this is, but like, you know, where the dominant starts out being dominant, but then they like lose power, right? Like, you know, you start out doing a scene where it's like, you know, you're tied up to a chair and they're like verbally degrading you and they're, you know, slapping you or they're, you know, caning your thighs or whatever. And then, you know, oh, you escape the restraints and then, you know, you get them with the rope instead. And now they're the one who's submissive and you have a little bit of like a fight back and forth and then they lose the power and then they're in the chair and now you're the one who's in control. So you can have something where the narrative makes it feel more organic and you have the plan in place so that way you guys both kind of like, you know, you're not trying to guess about like, okay, like is now the time to switch? Like when you start acting out in a way where it's like, all right, ready to switch now, like your partner can kind of follow that lead and go into that role. Now, given the complicated part with this is you could end up starting a scene and then you get so in the zone of whatever role you're doing or your partner does to where like you don't want to switch because you're really enjoying what you're currently doing, which is again why I recommend doing scenes where it's like the whole scene is one role, that you do another scene where you're doing a different role, because I think that prevents sort of the feeling of like, ah, I liked being a bottom though, I want to keep being a bottom, oh, I guess I'll top now. Like, you don't have that same feeling of loss, but like it can work to have a more organic switch in the middle of a scene. I just think you have to build up the role play around it for that to be something that makes sense. Or you could do something that's already like kind of more of a back and forth struggle to begin with, like wrestling, like rough body play, like takedown and capture, you know, things like that, where it is more you know, physical in nature, and there is going to be naturally more of a back and forth for more of the scene. But like that's like a more complicated scene to set up, and it definitely is a little bit riskier. Oh, no, don't feel cringe for being wolfy. I just mean in the sense of, like, it's not that I don't, first of all, I don't know why people are saying that I don't, like, she doesn't like male, period. I think she has a trauma from an ex. Yeah, that's definitely what it is, dude, exactly. People are crazy. I spend so much time coddling men and, like making sure I'm like, all right, men, I'm not saying all of you, but here's a specific issue that is related to masculinity in the scene, and like people always have problems with that. So like, I'm sorry you're sensitive, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that's basically what I would say about switching in relationships. But switching during a session is definitely doing it on hard mode for sure. I've met the host a couple times. He's been quite good about answering questions, and other people have good things to say about it. I appreciate the advice. Yes, it sounds like you are in a good position, Angela. Just like listen to your gut, have a safe call, and have a fun time. I don't know what I said that made somebody be like, she just hates males. Yeah, I hate males because I think that alpha male shit is stupid. That's exactly what it is. Listening to the late MF Doom while watching this is a vibe. Well, I feel honored. I feel honored to be listening to it at the same time as MF Doom. So, thank you. What an interesting combination. How does that go with the bandit camera, by the way? How does that fit in here? It's a good question. Like, IDK, like, it's a really good thing to ponder because I can't figure it out. LOL, I looked it up and I got nothing. Yeah, like, I mean, I guess, like, I'd have to, like, I feel like it almost like need to show you on a phone with like practice text messages. I feel like is the way that I have to show you how to like flirt over text message, because in the abstract, I find it like painfully difficult to be able to describe like how to do it. I don't know how I'd say it. Yeah, I hate men so much. I date them all the time. So many men folk in my life, and I hate all of them. It's true. I go, these men, I hate them. Disgusting. All the time. Oh, it's funny. What is an open relationship? Is it an open relationship if you are only having one-time hookups when you're married and it's allowed? Yes. I would say, okay, so there's like a lot of, frankly, cringy and overzealous debate about like open relationship versus ethical non-monogamy versus polyamory. I know lots of people that will use those terms basically interchangeably, and I feel like people get really caught up when they're like, you said open relationship when you were talking about polyamory, and open relationships are not polyamory, and it just shows that you don't know anything about this, and you shouldn't be talking about polyamory. And it's like, I've literally been polyamorous for years. I have many successful relationships. I have many metamors that I have good relationships with. I don't like, and nobody gives a shit in one-on-one communication if you're saying open relationship or polyamory or ethical non-monogamy, because people, you know, blur the lines between all of that all the time. So like, don't get too hung up on like a particular definition that's a worry to you. I would say an open relationship is a form of non-monogamy that's really broad, where it's any time where you are not in an exclusive, like closed, romantic, sexual relationship. So like if you are dating other people casually but not having sex, it's still an open relationship. If you are having casual, threesomes or one-time hookups where you don't like ever talk to the person again, that would be an open relationship. It's basically any time when you are not a single pairing all the time forever. If you are having sex outside of just the two of you, and it's aware, and it's, both people are aware of it, it's consensual, that's having an open relationship. So, yeah, I think polyamory and, other related terms to that tend to be a little bit more narrow. Like, polyamory is generally, like, intentionally having, relationships with more than one person. What constitutes having a relationship, obviously, is variable. If you're aromantic or asexual, like, you don't necessarily have to have sex to be polyamorous. You don't necessarily have to have romance to be polyamorous, though people usually do think about it that way. Like, whatever feels like a, complete independent relationship to you, I say that generally constitutes polyamory. But also, like, there's polyamory that's not really independent, right? You can have triads. You can have, like polycules, where it's like two couples that are dating each member of the other couple. Like, you can have things that aren't even necessarily independent, other separate relationships, but then you're getting into like, there's polyfidelity and there's triads, and there's just like, I just find the definitions part like to be so, I just feel like it's not as useful as it is in kink. Like, I feel like it's good to understand in kink the difference between like, I don't know, like shibari and Western bondage, because there are like concrete discernible differences. But like everyone I know like fudges the lines between open relationship, polyamory, relationship, anarchy, casually dating, hookup culture, threesomes, orgies, like all of that stuff gets so mangled up that I don't really think it has like the same practical delineation and communication as like kink language does. Because like I've been on dating apps for a long time, and I've talked to many people who say they're ethically non-monogamous, they're non-monogamous, they're consensually non-monogamous, they're polyamorous, they're in an open relationship, they're whatever, and like they all basically end up having the same lines in their relationships as any of the other people do. Or they're also relationship anarchists. That one also definitely comes up as well. So I just prefer to be direct too. Pickup lines are definitely not my forte. Yeah. Honestly, like I find that people generally like they find that refreshing to have somebody who talks directly about like what they want and what they enjoy about a person, and not like just be flirtatious all the time. So I recently started looking for people, mostly doms, to play with on FetLife again. I accidentally vetted them. Well, you accidentally vetted them. By also getting sick and seeing who wanted to meet up anyways and who wanted to wait. Oh, interesting. Okay. So what were the results? I have not ever done that before. I mean, I guess I've recently been sick, but I haven't been like looking for new partners in the process of being sick, so I haven't had to do that. But I'm very curious to like, I'm interested to hear how that like weighed out, if you don't mind sharing, because that would be very telling. Yeah. Oh yeah, and monogamish, yes. I don't really hear people say we're monogamish. I feel like that's normally a label that's given to other couples, like by other people, more than people say, well, no. There was somebody on a podcast, I feel like, once who said they were monogamish, and it was kind of that whole, like, oh, we, like, have threesomes, and, or my, boyfriend, gets a handy at a massage parlor every once in a while, or whatever, and we're kind of monogamish. But I wouldn't say it's like a very common label that a lot of people end up using. Field just had a polyamory themed talk with a guest. Did you catch that? I did not. No. I mean, Field is kind of all about polyamory. I've read a lot of books at this point. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't like generally engage in a lot of like polyamory related like social media or like online educational events, because I'm sort of like, I feel like I kind of know what I need to know about polyamory. I've kind of explored all of the rocks I need to explore generally, because like so much of it is really just about personal relationships, and I find that I just get more out of more learning about like emotional regulation, healthy communication techniques and that versus like a polyamory specific conversation, you know? All right, we have about like 20 minutes left. So if I have not answered your question yet, now is a really, really good time to ask it. I feel we've been having a lot of great conversations today, but I would love to answer more questions if y'all have any. So put them in the chat now to give yourself the best possible chance of me being able to read and answer your question. Hey Evie, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much. I hope that you're having a great day as well. I answered the question about ABDL already. Fake tanning products are popular in Ireland, as some women put it. Don't give me any shit about it. I'm fucking transparent without it, okay? I mean, sure, yeah. Oh, let me scroll up here. Yeah, and if you want to like the stream, that would also be awesome, but no pressure if you do not want to. Friday night, should I order a vegan burger? If you want to, I guess. I feel like I'm not really hungry for anything. I don't know what I'd be eating for dinner. I'm probably just going to make cookies and call that dinner. That's probably not healthy for me, but that's what the plan currently is. No, I do not like soft limp noodles. Absolutely. Why would you donate money and then be like, she doesn't like male period? I think she has, I mean, listen, men can have periods. I'm very open to the idea that men can have periods. I think that's something that definitely happens. That's a good point. Switching must feel natural with your mood. Absolutely. Oh, okay. I think that they meant Ms. LX hates males. Oh. Okay, wait. Okay, I just assumed they were talking about me. I didn't realize we were talking about LX, but no, I mean, I don't want to psychoanalyze about that. I have no idea. Like, sure, that could be the case. It's probably not, though. And also, we don't know. We have no way of knowing that information. Flirt-wise, write out rough drafts in your notes. Think of things to say, write them out, edit them, and then use them as you choose with whatever modifiers. Oh, that's a good idea. Like, sort of having a little storehouse to yourself of, like, cute shit I can say. Like, the notes just titled cute shit to say, and then it's like, as you get ideas, or, like, you get a good idea from, like, I don't know, like, anime or something on Twitter or whatever, you know, that's definitely a good technique, absolutely. I have a question. What are good ways to initiate or signal interest in play that gives the sub the ability to say yes, no, maybe later, long-term relationship, and live together? Okay, I appreciate the information about your relationship because definitely depending on what stage of relationship you're in, that's going to potentially modify the advice that I'm giving. I do feel like a lot of dominants and tops, to avoid feeling like they're pressuring a partner, they have a very laid-back attitude about asking for play, and I think that can backfire in terms of, like, the partner feels pressure to always be like, we only ever do a scene when I want to do a scene. They never just want to take control, and it doesn't feel very dominant. I feel like I'm bullying them, and I'm being bossy, and I hate that. So you have to be careful about, like, balancing, like, being respectful and not being too passive either. I feel like if you're very, like, repetitive and you're very direct about, like, when are we going to do a scene? Can we do a scene now? That's probably a bad technique to go with. Okay, maybe if you want to have a good balance here, if you don't have a specific thing you want to do in a scene, you could open it up like, you know, like, hey, I've really been feeling like I want to do a scene lately. Like, what would you be in the mood for? And then you can leave it open to them to pick what they want to do, or leave room to say, I'm not feeling in the mood, or I've been stressed from work, or, you know, not this week, I don't have time, maybe next week, or I would really like to try this, but I'm not ready yet, and let's talk about it. Like, just opening it up that you even are potentially interested in doing a scene at all, and then leaving them to say what they want to do particularly. I think that's a good way to go about it. I think if you do have a specific idea in mind, you could bring it up like, you know, I've been really curious about trying, you know, spanking with you sometime. You know, would that be something you're into? Or I wouldn't even, maybe, like, if you want to be really, really sure that you're not putting any pressure on the person, because maybe in your relationship that even saying that maybe would feel like pressure, maybe you could even bring it up like, you know, my instinct is to say, like, do you have any thoughts about spanking? But I feel like that's not a very, like, that's not what a person would actually say in a conversation. But, like, something to the effect of, like, would you, are you, like, what kind of things are you curious about? Are you curious about spanking, for example? Like, do you have any thoughts about that? You know, just kind of, again, like, leave it open for them to steer the conversation and to tell you what they're into, what they're intrigued by, as opposed to being like, all right, slave, next Friday at 4 p.m., you're going to be naked in the kitchen, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. Like, you know, sometimes that can be hot in the right relationship where people are really into that. But I would say as a default, that's probably not the best idea. Okay. Met a guy who claims to be in an open relationship, but has to keep his other sexual partners a secret from his wife. There are some people who are open but prefer not to meet others, but feel I feel like definitionally that's not open. That's okay. Maybe this is me being slightly judgmental or a little bit closed off, and if this is the case, I will work on it in my own time. I feel like I have never actually met a person who is genuinely in an open relationship where they have to keep their sexual partners a secret from their wife. As in, the wife doesn't know about the other partners. Now, you can have a certain degree of, like, don't ask, don't tell. But there's a limit to that, right? Like, I feel like any relationship I've heard of where it's like my spouse, regardless of the person's gender or like whatever the relationship is, if they have to keep other people secret from the other partner, as in, like, we're not going to talk about it, I'm not going to know what you're doing ever, and don't ever tell me that you're doing anything, or don't let me see that you're on a dating app, don't tell me that you're going on a date, don't tell me who you're going on a date with, or tell me anything about them ever, I don't even want to know that you're doing it. I've never met anybody who's been in a relationship dynamic like that has worked out or been healthy long term. I feel like 95+% of the time, that's really a marriage that's kind of like hanging on by a thread where they don't want to break up the marriage, but they're really not comfortable with polyamory, and they're just saying yes to this because it's the only way they can tolerate it. But, like, if you're going on dates and staying in hotels and fucking other people and going, you know, like, you know, and signing up for dating apps and whatever, like, eventually it's gonna leak out. You can't keep it totally secret from the other person. It's gonna, like, it's gonna be apparent that if it's anything that's, you know, and, you know, other than just like, oh, I'm hooking up with a coworker or something. Like, if you're actively courting more than one person, which feels weird to say in this actively courting, like it's the fucking 17th century, like, it doesn't work out. I feel like most people that do that, it's not really healthy. Or the person that says they're in an open relationship, but they have to keep things secret from their wife, they're not actually in an open relationship, they're just cheating. They're just cheating. Like, there's no way for it to be consensual and also a secret. Like, that's not how consent works. Like, consent has to be informed. Like, that's like the second part of the acronym about consent, right? It has to be freely given, has to be it has to be revocable. Well, actually, it's the third one, right? It has to be freely given, revocable, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. And if it's not informed, because you don't, like, you can't give informed consent to be in an open relationship if you don't know that your partner is having sex, how many different partners they're having sex with, if they're using protection or not, if they're getting tested or not, what kinds of sex they're having, like, is there a possibility of a pregnancy risk? Is there birth control use? Like, are they hooking up with men, women, non-binary people? Are they going to sex clubs? Are they seeing, sex workers? Like, if you don't have any idea what's going on, it's totally a black box. I don't really think you can meaningfully give informed consent. I guess maybe you could say, okay, this is everything that's on the table. And we know it's on the table. Now, don't tell me ever again about any of it unless something new comes up that isn't on this list that we've agreed upon. And then you have to tell me about it being on the list. And then we're going to go back to not ever talking about it ever again. That theoretically is possible as a thing. I am very suspicious of that, but I feel like almost everyone I've ever known who has met somebody who's like, oh, we're in an open relationship, but you have to keep it secret from my wife. And she can never know about it. Like, that's not really, they're just cheating and trying to, either they're deluding themselves into pretending they're not cheating, or they're trying to cheat and they think that polyamorous / non-monogamous people are fucking stupid and are willing to go along with, like, being the other person. I just personally don't get, I just feel like that doesn't, like, to me, it doesn't feel like it's actually, like, to me, an open relationship is consensual, and that's why I don't, like, if it's not consensual, it's not an open relationship, it's cheating. If it's not monogamy, but it's not consensual, it's not that, it's cheating. So, I feel like that's very sussy. I just don't know what I would call that, because an open relationship doesn't, I feel like I'd probably just use don't ask, don't tell rather than open relationship. But because I feel like open relationship involves, like, both people knowing what's happening. But I guess, like, again, you could know and then, like, not want to have information. But, like, if it's, like, a total ice wall of, like, nothing can get past this, like, I don't know. I just don't get any, like, that's, like, there's so many people that are, like, in healthy open relationships where everything is known and talked about and you can have, like, healthy conversations with everybody that, like, why would you, I'm not saying that you're doing this, but, like, just in general, if you run into that with the person, you don't have to tolerate that. You can find other people that are, like, actually open and not, like, treating you like a down low, dirty secret, you know? I think that's a great answer, Evie. It is in-depth, but I like your answer a lot. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, we probably have time here for a couple more questions. Let me see what we can get to here. Don't ruin them with facts, Evie. LOL, we know that you know what polyam is. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, some people, that's why one of the many reasons I have avoided for a long time, like, making polyamorous educational content. And I still really don't. I just kind of more talk about personal stuff and, like, maybe things on social media. And people are very persnickety online about polyamory, and there's definitely a really big subset of, like, the polyamorous community that's, like, former grammar Nazis and, like, people that are just very, like, I'm actually, like, their hobby, like, they're just, like, the biggest fucking cringe nerds online who love being pedantic and arguing, and, you know, they're all conveniently sapiosexual, and, like, that's, like, a pretty big population within the online community of polyamorous people, and it doesn't always lead to good conversations, I don't think. The easiest way to break the ice and not use corny pickup lines is to crack a joke / make them laugh. Highly effective. True. Telling a genuine joke is always a good move. Absolutely. If you can do it, go for it. You as one person cannot define broad social ideas. It's between the people to define their relationship. I mean, sure, I guess I'm not trying to, like, do that, I guess. I'm just giving what my opinion is based on, like, how I see people use the terminology. But also if people at the same time are being like, actually, you're using the word wrong. It's not what it means. And they're, like, discrediting what my own personal opinion about it is, then, like, okay, I can't win that, I guess. Because if I'm not specific, then people get mad at me for not being specific. But then if I'm too specific, I'm condescending and gatekeeping, and I'm trying to define broad ideas for people. Like, can't win. Cannot win. But really, your body language is heard first before you say anything, so be aware of that. Yes. Like, body language analysis stuff it's interesting to listen to, but it's, like, broadly crap. Like, it's not really that accurate. But, like, being aware of, like, your vocal tone, especially how you're sitting, eye contact, like, that can go a long way with, like, accurately communicating what you're saying, being in line with what you're expressing physically. And certainly, like, the way people act. What I've been told before is, like, nonverbal trumps verbal. So, like, if somebody is telling you, yeah, I'm totally into you, I really like you a lot, but then they're, like, never answering your texts, they ignore your phone calls, they flake on dates, they, they show up late if they do show up, whatever, combination of that. They're saying that they care about you verbally, but, like, non-verbally, their actions and behaviors are telling you something different. So it's not even really body language, it's kind of just, like, your actions, which include the things you do with your body, obviously. Oh, I mainly say due to my partner being monogamous and I play outside of the relationship. I think I feel like that is when I've heard monogamish before, is when somebody has, because I also have said that in videos too. Like, I don't really hear it in, like, the poly community, but definitely in the kink community, I hear people say, like, monogamish to be like, oh, like, we're exclusive, in the romantic sexual sense, but, like, I play non-sexually with other people, or they do. Like, yeah, absolutely, that does happen. Take an ice cube, walk over to the person, and then stamp on the ice, and then say, well, the ice is broken. Oh my god, no, don't do that. I think, don't leave water on the floor in public. I appreciate the idea, but I don't think that would be a good idea to do in person. Do you have any tips for how to talk to normies about BDSM? Like, I don't have any idea how to explain something to my sis. Oh, you're trying to explain to a family member? I feel like that's such a huge can of worms when it's, like, somebody that's, like, an important part of your personal life, not just, like, a casual acquaintance who, like, wants to know about what you do at a dungeon. There is a good book that I recommend sometimes. It's older, but it's basically what we have, and it's called When Someone You Love Is Kinky, and it's a book that's designed to explain, like, kink and BDSM and, like, alternative relationships to people that are vanilla, that maybe are concerned about it and worried for their non-vanilla family members that have recently talked to them about the fact that they're kinky. I think generally, like, the advice I've given a lot today, I think treating it like a positive thing, acting and talking about being aware of how it is, kind of preempt maybe some of the worries that people have about, like, it being a slippery slope, or it taking over your whole life, or you engaging in high risk behaviors, or it being something to do with your mental health being bad or whatever. Like, if you can assure people that, like, no, this is a positive thing for me, I enjoy doing it, like, I'll tell you, like, the way I engage in it to this extent, if you're comfortable knowing those details, but, I feel very secure, I feel happy, I feel healthy, this helps me feel like I'm expressing who I truly am. I'm taking these precautions for like my safety and my privacy, so don't worry about that. Like, you know, I think depending on what the person might be worried about, like, because they could be worried about anything from like, you're a demon and you're going to hell because you're having crazy sex outside of wedlock and that means the devil's possessing your penis, all the way over to like, they're just like worried about your safety and being like, oh my God, what if your job finds out, you know? What if, if you have kids or whatever, maybe they're worried about the kids finding out and like having healthy boundaries around that. But it's difficult. Talking to family is like, if you don't have to do it, I generally don't recommend doing it because like most people, one second, I feel like my mouth just got really dry. I feel like if you don't have to do it, I wouldn't recommend doing it just because it is such a huge can of worms. And if you don't already have like an open relationship with your family where you're comfortable talking about like intimacy, sex, dating, whatever, I wouldn't start that by trying to talk about kink. You know, like already have a secure relationship before you start talking about this stuff. All right, we have time for one more question here. Bagel bites, that sounds good. I do like bagel bites. I wish they had a vegan version of bagel bites. Honestly, I would be a middle. I would do play as a middle for a scene where I play video games and eat bagel bites. I'd do roleplay for that. But only if they were vegan bagel bites. I don't think I could handle the dairy otherwise. But those things are like crack. I'm like, oh my God. Bagel bites are dangerous. Well, thank you so much. I am glad that you are enjoying the stream, and I love getting to educate people. Okay, we have time for one more question. I'm scrolling to see if I can find any. We're talking about bagel bites. I'm solo poly. One of my partners has a very tumultuous relationship with their nesting partner. That is not an uncommon thing. Any suggestions on how to not let that bleed into our relationship? Having firm boundaries. If you do not know how to set boundaries, there is a Better Boundaries workbook that I recommend. Figure out what you are comfortable with, energy-wise, emotionally, with supporting your person and having them talk about their nesting partner, that relationship, if they need a safe place to vent or like whatever it is. If you don't want to bleed into your relationship, set up parameters for like, I want to be here to support you. I want to help you through this. But for my own mental well-being, like I want to focus on building our relationship and have that be the primary thing. I don't want to only just be a shoulder that you cry on. So, for spending, maybe you set up boundaries where like if you're physically spending time together in person, if you're going to talk about that person's nesting partner or like problems they're having at home or whatever it is, maybe quarantine it to like a certain period of time that you hang out, or only if you talk about it beforehand, or you only focus when you're in person together about what you're doing together and not on the other relationship. Setting up parameters around like texting and venting. Like if you're not comfortable hearing that at all, or how much you're comfortable hearing it, you're allowed to set boundaries while also being emotionally supportive in the way that you can. Maybe they can just tell you, instead of, talking about their partner specifically, maybe you're okay hearing like, that they had a rough day, or they would love it if they could, see a picture of one of your pets to cheer them up or something. It is very difficult if you're a caretaker type and you care about somebody, to not want to actively like help a person when they're struggling with something like a really bad relationship. But if you're solo poly and you don't want to interrupt your relationship, you got to set boundaries around it and like help that person hopefully find other resources, like maybe a poly-aware, poly-positive therapist, or just a therapist at all. Doesn't even necessarily have to be poly. They could just talk about their relationship and problems they're having and how to navigate that, or finding a couples therapist or whatever it is. But like, breaking up a nesting partnership is like, it's one of the tried and true things in polyamory, and a lot of people, unfortunately, like I luckily haven't had too many issues with that recently, but certainly over the years I've heard many, many stories of people that have shaky relationships that are not good, that bleed into other relationships. And it's hard, like when you can't talk about polyamory with people, that's like maybe a factor of the struggle. It's like hard to not lean on other partners for that support if you're otherwise kind of isolated. So I get the struggle, but like ultimately it's you have to take care of you, and that means setting up boundaries on where you're comfortable. I do have a video about middles. If you want to, just search for middle or middles on my channel, you'll find it. It's basically like an older age range little, or like an age player. So like somebody who's more like middle school to high school aged, as opposed to, a baby or a toddler or something. Pickle bites aren't so much made as engineered. True. Okay, all right. I gotta go, guys. I'm gonna go make some chocolate chip cookies. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me tonight. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have not, please subscribe if you want to see more. We do these streams every Friday at 6, so if you want to make sure to not miss out on the next one, go ahead and ring the notification bell, and hopefully I will see you all again soon. Bye!